one, tarnation!
I meant to do that.
Hi there folks, this is Applegeek, and welcome to my reaction of episode 200 of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Now, in case some of you are counting and thinking, wait, 200 should be next week, normally it'd be true, but we found out from Jim Miller that the Best Gift Ever holiday special counted as an episode, so therefore this is officially episode 200. And now, I don't know anything about what is in this episode. I have not seen it. I've not seen links, spoilers, anything of the sort. But what I do know is a little bit about what this episode is, or like how this episode came to be. And I'm just going to share that with you quick before we get into this. Looking back at episode 100, Slice of Life, that was basically a love letter to us, the fans. This time around, the writers have created a love letter of sorts to the main cast voice actresses for all the main six and Spike. They got all these VAs together and asked them, what have you always wished that your characters would be able to do in the show, but you've never gotten to do? Now, as far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, this is unprecedented. We at least in this show, the voice actors have never really actually had much input as to the development of their own characters. They basically just show up and read the scripts that are given to them by the writers. So, to ask the VAs what they want to do with their characters, I can only imagine some of the crazy things that they have come up with for us on this. So, this episode here, this is basically out of the minds of the voice actors who have been here since the beginning of this show. So, I expect great things out of this episode. So, with that in mind, and without any further ado, let's go ahead and give this a watch. Episode 200, also episode 4 of the season, starting now. Okay.
Twilight, look at the scroll I just got.
What?
Do you know what this means?
What?
I don't.
Dragon diploma or something?
What's so exciting about a toy crown?
Oh, this is no toy crown. It's the hard-won helm of the Sibling Supreme.
The
When
what?
Shining Armor and I were small, we competed over everything.
Okay. Oh, oh, the baby Spike! Oh, it's adorable. Oh.
To be friendly, our parents gave us gold stars every time we did something special.
Okay, this is cool.
Sharing,
Aw.
getting good grades,
Uh-oh. Oh, no!
even telling a really funny joke. And at the end of each week, we'd add up the stars. The sibling with the most would win the crown of the Sibling Supreme and bragging rights.
Oh, that's nice! That's adorable.
Guess that explains your love of charts and so much else.
This is true.
I wanted to be Sibling Supreme one day. Meet me at Celestia's castle to decide who deserves the crown once and for all. Race you there!
Guess I'll watch the school?
Sure. What? That... So who sent that? Who's he competing against? I'm a little confused here, but whatever. But these faces already, this episode is going to be amazing. Oh boy. And yes, I have my Red Bull this time around. Cranberry flavor, that stuff is awesome. Okay, where is this all gonna go? This song reminds me...
You're wearing it?
What?
I know you've always held a grudge because I left home with this.
Grudge? What grudge? Just because you've had it for way longer than you should have and I never got a chance to win it back.
Oh!
With the return of Sombra, Princess Luna and I felt it was time to reinforce the
credits.
castle's defenses. I said we could do it ourselves, but some ponies are a bit stubborn.
So I asked our old captain of the guard to handle the job.
I've taken the security here to a whole new level. The only thing I need now is some pony to test it.
You want me to break into Celestia's castle?
If you can get
Oh.
past my defenses, steal the crown, and get out, you'll be sibling supreme forever.
Oh.
If you fail, I keep the crown.
Deal.
Pinky reference.
Wait, are you sure this counts? Mom and
Okay.
Dad aren't giving us any stars.
I will represent their authority. And thank you, Twilight. Your help will
Good look on Luna's
holes
face.
in our security.
Oh.
And there aren't. I've designed a multi-tiered, impenetrable, triple backed-up line of defense. The castle is surrounded by
Star Swirl.
shards of Queen Chrysalis's throne. Thanks to Star Swirl, its anti-magic powers are now tuned to stop any creature from using a spell to get inside. Can't fly
Oh.
in either.
Genius.
Giant fans keep any creature from flying too close to the castle.
Really? Okay, that's a little over the top,
Entrances
but
to the tunnels below the castle have been sealed, so there's no underground access.
aren't the stairs going
And
up?
even if you could
Eh.
get in, which you can't, I've doubled the ranks of security. Ponies protect every hallway and door, which can only be
Wow.
opened with Royal Guard medals.
Okay.
An army. The throne room is the safest spot in Equestria. I rigged a floor trap to activate at the slightest touch.
Oh no.
But say you avoid the floor, still no luck, because I've employed nature's alarm system.
What? What are those?
Geese?
Hear
Geese?
their honks all the way in pony form. Plus they bite.
Wow. Okay.
So
So-
that's what we're up against.
Whew, that's a barrel and a half of obstacles.
Wow.
Bushel and a
She
peck
is.
of impenetrability.
And all of this is to win some fillyhood competition with your brother?
Sure, why not?
It's more than that. Okay, it's exactly that. And to protect Celestia's castle.
If it means that much to you, Twilight, we're in. I was already in! Come on, who doesn't want to hang with geese?
Of course we'll help. But how? Shining Armor may have come up with some great security, but he'll never guess Twilight's plan.
We play to our strengths and defeat all of the security measures. That way, if one of us fails, the others will still have a shot at getting the crown. Pinky, you'll distract the guards with a surprise party.
Yes, sir, Twilight, sir!
Applejack,
Oh, no.
buck your way into the sealed tunnels.
Oh!
If any pony can outfly those wind turbines, it's you. Rarity, you'll sew us guard costumes so we can sneak past security. Then Fluttershy will disable the throne room alarm by charming the geese.
Oh.
It's
Okay.
from Shining Armor. Dear Twilight, hope your idea isn't just prison balloons, tunnels. He guessed your whole plan.
What?
Oh no.
Pinky Party Rarity costumes? Signed the future sibling supreme? Come on!
He knows you too well.
No pony knows you better than your own brother.
Exactly.
So you're saying I should give up?
I'm saying your brother will win. No matter how brilliant your
Let
plan
them
is,
come up with a
no matter
plan.
how many variations you try, it will be something your brother expects, and he'll always win. Unless,
Oh.
when the perfect chance comes along, you do something he can't expect. Then you'll win.
You've been
Okay.
practicing that speech, haven't you?
A little bit. Not like I rushed. Did I rush it?
Absolutely not.
No, that was perfect.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was fast-ish.
Oh, go,
We
come on.
have to do the opposite of what Shining Armor expects. Therefore, Twilight cannot mastermind the plan.
Exactly.
That's definitely unexpected.
How is you making a break-in plan?
This is starting to feel like a Tabitha fanfic.
Because my plan is for each of us to devise our own unexpected part of it. Allow me to demonstrate.
Yes. Oh, film noir again. Oh, hi, Dash.
We're looking for a pony with
Ready?
information.
Dash is the front. Wow.
We got questions, and you're gonna serve us up some answers, juice jockey.
Where is the secret entrance to the passages under Canterlot Castle?
Shining Armor sealed them all. There's no secret entrance.
There's always a secret entrance! So make like a glass of OJ and spill!
I know what I can
Pinky, what?
so I can view
Don't
flying
question
in
it.
the sky. Too low, silly! Up here!
What? What on earth? Maybe I should ask what in space.
Oh, Pinky.
Moonwalking. What even was that?
How about something a little more down to earth?
Yes, thank you.
Like, I distract the guard boys with a farewell performance by my alter ego, famous country western superstar, Apple Cord.
What?
I didn't know you had an alter ego.
What?
And why would she be giving a farewell performance?
Well, it's a long story.
Oh, do tell.
Back on the farm, playing music was about making her family smile.
That's adorable.
Word of her talent spread, and soon Apple Cord was playing real shows. The more she played, the bigger those shows got.
Oh my word.
But she missed playing for her family. So one day, she gave it all up.
Oh.
Seeing her family smile was all she ever wanted from her music. Of course, Apple Cord could come out of retirement for a farewell concert this one time.
Wait.
Wow.
Make all that up, or did that actually happen?
Doesn't matter. It's
Wait.
perfect. Not a show.
Wait, what?
Well, I
She
guess
would never
not.
lie, would
What
she?
I'm
What?
good at is being in small spaces.
Whatever, moving
I
on.
always wanted to be a super spy. Is that the opposite of anything? Special Agent Fluttershy. Target detected below.
Oh no. Where'd the lasers come
It's
from?
almost too easy.
Oh. Wow. I don't think the lasers work that way, but whatever. That was too
I
epic.
guess I'm the only one left that still needs a plan.
Oh, no.
No, you need to do nothing.
That is the plan.
Shall do nothing.
Shining Armor definitely won't expect that.
Exactly. Oh man, this is so much like, you know, this is like at work where we do computer network penetration testing to see how secure it really is. So that, wow.
Applejack? What are you doing?
Applejack? Who's that? My name's Apple Cord,
Oh.
and I've got a couple of songs to play for you. Clap your hooves if you know 'em. And a 1 and a 2 and a... My love is like a barrel full of hay.
Boy.
To the flyby. And the only way past those giant fans and into the castle ducts is here. But there's no room for mistakes. Just like space travel.
Pinky.
Pinky, we're not actually going into space, right? Oh, silly. I'm dropping you two off as soon as we're close to the fans. Then I'm going into space.
For what? Why?
You're up to something, Twily.
Nope.
You
just
think so, huh?
Looking at the flowers.
Right.
Got my eye on you.
Ooh, maybe Rarity's plan will work.
Oh, no.
I know that one's a
Nice
crowd
Apollo 13
favorite.
reference.
What say we play it one more time? And a 1 and a 2 and a...
Oh no.
Distraction's a distraction.
What the? Oh, she got a guard medal. Nice. I was gonna say, Pinky is great at distractions.
Like in Fluttershy, did they make it into the castle?
They jumped out right before the balloon went.
Oh,
That's all I could see without being in space, where I didn't get to go.
that amount of saliva in there.
Rainbow Dash had better luck.
Okay.
Closed?
Oh, the Sadie Juice joint is always closed around this time.
Then how are we meant to shake down ne'er-do-wells for information?
Ne'er
What
do
information do you need?
The location to a secret entrance to the passages under Canterlot Castle.
And he's just
You mean that
gonna
one?
no.
Yes, thank you.
It's not very secret if it's right out in the open. Oh, hi, Luna. Zephyr, what? Why? Why?
Oh, darling.
Oh no! Oh no!
Perfect.
Oh
How is this perfect?
no! Role reversal.
Annoying pony in Equestria, and he's totally obsessed with me, and we have to come up with a way to distract.
Exactly.
Oh no! No way!
Rainbow! I knew you'd come running when you heard I got this job. The mayor's love a pony in uniform. Am I right?
Oh no!
I mean, totally. What? Step into the light so I can see how handsome you look in it.
Okay.
I told the Sarge that gold kind of clashes with my aura, but apparently they aren't big on input. Still, I totally managed to rock the look, don't you think?
Yep. You're real guard material.
I'm part of the castle team now, so I'm basically... Whoa, we got a spooner.
Oh!
It's good you're finally being honest with your feelings for me, Rainbow.
No!
Ugh.
The truth is such a gift. Like, I had to follow my bliss to see guarding is my calling. Like, look at me go. I'm gonna walk over here and I go, whoa, over there. And I go, yeah. And sometimes I just stand like this and look real cool. And then go down the hallway and go,
Oh no, not the stained glass windows!
We have to glide to the throne. No flapping.
Uh-oh. Oh no, oh no. Oh, oops.
Sister! Another false alarm from Shining Armor's guard key.
Okay, so they're starting to assume these are false alarms and ignore them.
Gone wrong.
Probably several somethings.
No lookout, no distraction, and no word from the ponies inside. I'm starting to think this whole operation might be a giant flop.
Oh, something's gonna turn around here.
Gee,
Oh.
Fluttershy, I thought your whole small spaces thing was just part of the plan to be unexpected.
Once I got trapped in the castle of the two sisters, and Angel Bunny and I were separated.
Oh yeah.
Now whenever I'm in a tiny room, it's all I can think about.
Nice
I
callback.
was so worried he felt alone and forgotten.
Aww.
I know what that's like.
What do you mean?
Huh?
I was always excited to be a part of Twilight's and Shining Armor's rivalry, like I was their little brother. They never
Oh.
really thought of me that way.
Oh.
Both have a special place in their heart for you. But sibling dynamics are hard. Trust me.
Right, Zephyr agrees.
Honestly, he can learn a lot from you about being a little brother.
Oh.
I'm sick of being lost in these slimy corridors too. But you should pull every lever you come across. Half of them are traps.
And the other half might open a secret passage to the castle.
Pull the lever, Dash. Why do we even have that lever?
Even if we did find our way back to the castle, we'd still have all of those gone. Like, Fluttershy!
Oh, what are you guys doing down here?
We, kind of fell through the floor.
I don't think our plan is working.
We both hit dead ends. Perhaps we should return to the outside and reevaluate.
No, you're inside the castle and they don't know you're there, so you still got element of surprise. Twilight, settle down.
What are you all doing out here?
In retrospect, our plan might have been too unexpected.
Every part of it failed? Oh
Mm,
no,
yeah,
I'll never
mostly.
get the crown.
Maybe
Oh,
we should go back
what is
to
that?
doing things the Twilight
Glitch.
way.
You mean the totally expected way?
It may not be a surprise, but you have a pretty good record for planning things.
Well.
Then I guess it's worth a try. Thanks, Spike.
What are little brothers for?
Okay.
Oh,
all know what to do.
Come on. Come. Wow. Now that's a party. That's a party balloon. It's got an entire party in it. Oh, Rarity in a guard outfit.
The plan worked unexpectedly.
To be fair, it was never made specifically clear to me what guarding actually means. So this is on you.
Really?
I'm strong, Twilight, but
At least he's
even I
out here.
walk through solid rock.
That's why I brought a specialist.
Yes! Yes! Right there. Yeah! Yes!
Next shift, you're on break.
That voice! Okay, well, she's got the medal. Hushing out quiet now.
Glaring so hard. Who wants a feather massage?
Oh.
We mapped this out and got lost down here. The lever to the secret hallway entrance should be here.
Hi, Pinky.
Can't believe this worked. I guess sometimes the best plan is the one you expect.
All I have to do now is fly over and take the crown, and I'll be sibling supreme forever.
Something's not gonna happen.
Come on!
Gotta admit, it was unexpected for you to do everything exactly how I thought you would. But you should know by now, there's no way to beat the true Sibling Supreme.
I am sorry, Twilight.
Oh, I don't think
but it
this is
looks
over
like
yet.
Shining Armor has truly won the crown.
Is Starlight gonna pop in or
What's
somebody
about
else?
looks? They can be.
Or Spike. Spike, yes!
Spike?
How in Equestria did you do it?
Come on, you two don't think you have the only sibling rivalry. I had an inside pony help.
Oh.
It wasn't hard to miss there was some big on the whole security.
I said we could do it ourselves, but some ponies are a bit more stubborn.
Oh!
While Shining Armor went on and on about all his improved security measures, Luna and I struck a deal. She put Zephyr in charge of the catacombs and helped keep Celestia out of the castle hallways. Once Luna was on board, I just had to do my part. And make sure we stuck to Twilight's plan so we'd all get to the throne room at the same time. I knew Shining Armor would let it play out until the last possible second. Then, while everyone was distracted by its gloating, all Luna had to do was float the crown over to me.
Yeah, Twilight, that's an appropriate response.
Apologize for not listening to your concerns, sister. It seems we need to make adjustments to account for threats inside the castle as well as out. You agree?
If you think it's worth discussing.
If Twilight and Shining Armor failed, who gets the crown?
Spike does.
The true sibling supreme.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Little brother, we've always had.
Oh! Yes! Yes! Spike for the win! Oh man, Spike has got some. They underestimate him. They have seriously underestimated Spike. Oh. That guy's got some devious masterminding skills at his disposal here. Oh. Okay, well, I need to rewatch and process all this. Stay tuned, I will be right back. Alrighty. Well, to start off with, this episode was definitely not the same as Slice of Life. That said, I didn't really expect it to be, especially knowing how the story came about in the first place. Slice of Life was a love letter to us, the fans, as I had previously mentioned, and it brought to life the background characters that the fans basically created in terms of the personalities and such, and it focused on them instead of the main cast. That episode was wild and crazy, largely in part due to just seeing these characters come to life like this on the screen that we'd never seen before. This, on the other hand, had a strong focus on the main cast that we're already quite familiar with, and instead allowed the voice actors who have put so much work into these characters for several years finally have some input. Just as we got to bring some of these characters to life in the show, so did they, just in a bit different way. And after everything they've given to us over the years, I'd say they definitely deserved it. Just so you understand, the voice actors generally do not really have any input on the characters or the story writing or anything of the sort. I mean, they do add their own spin onto the characters as they act out the lines as they're voicing them and things like that. There is definitely very much an acting element to the lines, more so than just simply reading them. But other than that, and occasionally there are some ad-libs and things like that that get left in, but for the most part, they just show up and read the scripts that they are given, act them out, and that is that. So now, after all this time, they finally got to have some real input into one of these stories. And honestly, this was still for us, the fans, too. Because without us, there's no way the show would have ever made it to episode 200, let alone episode 100. But all that said, I very much enjoyed this episode. Both just in general as an episode, and because we actually got some insight into how these VAs view their own characters. Just to quickly recap the main requests, or the main wishes from the VAs that we got here. Tabitha St. Germain wanted Rarity to organize a heist of some kind, and this is actually kind of the backbone of this story. And it's a rather interesting idea. I mean, how do you have the main cast pull off a heist when they're not actually criminals? And Andrea Libman wanted Pinkie Pie to go to space for reasons. I don't know why. It's Pinkie Pie, don't question it. And she wanted for Fluttershy to have a really cool spy scene, where it's walking away from that explosion and stuff. Well, that's what it ended up being. I don't know that she requested that specifically, but she wanted to have like a cool, spy mission type thing. Ashley Ball wanted Rainbow Dash to interact with Zephyr Breeze again, and Ryan Beal is the voice actor for Zephyr Breeze, really cool guy. He and Ashley Ball are actually really good friends in real life, so it makes sense they want to have some fun together again with that. And Ashley also wanted for Applejack to have a secret past that nobody ever knew about up until now. Then Kathy Westluck as Spike wanted to further explore Spike's familial relationship with Twilight as a sibling. And then Tara Strong thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at the long-standing sibling rivalry between Twilight and Shining Armor. So, rather interesting list of story ideas there. And I think there might have been some other, ideas that they floated out that sort of made it into little bits of the episode here and there, but those were the primary requests from them. And then Nicole Dubuque and Josh Haber took all these crazy ideas and somehow put together an actual cohesive story around all of that. That is not easy to do. Of course, certain things only seem to work in the what-if scenarios, like Pinkie actually going into space, Fluttershy doing the spy thing. I mean, Fluttershy did still have the spy outfits with Spike, but, she isn't exactly the type to, walk away from an explosion in an epic manner like that and stuff, so... But, the way the story worked out as they were, plotting and scheming this heist together, I mean, they needed to play out some what-if scenarios, so that all worked out for that. The thing I'm really raising an eyebrow on is Applejack and her story about Apple Chord. Chord is in musical chords, of course. Now, I'm not really sure if Nicole and Josh were just really trolling us on this or what. They probably were. At first I found the story to be totally believable. I've said many times in the past that much of Applejack's character depth was established in her personal past. And it's something we just haven't had a lot of opportunity to witness before outside of certain episodes like Cutie Mark Chronicles, Where the Apple Lies, stuff like that. Also, given that this whole thing seems to have taken place in the years prior to Twilight coming to Ponyville, back in the series premiere, I really thought it was actually believable, at least at a quick glance. What threw me, of course, as it did for everybody, is the nervous darting eyes that happened after Rainbow Dash questioned if all of that ever actually even happened or not. Now, I can't honestly believe Applejack would lie about something like that. I mean, well, for starters, with her being the element of honesty, I just don't think she would. Like, why? Secondly, as we've seen before, Applejack is kind of a terrible liar. And that story was really just too elaborate to really, be that much of a tall tale, I felt like. And finally, the reason that she was bringing this up in the first place is because it was going to be her job to cause a distraction. And the whole idea of her alter ego, the whole idea was that her alter ego coming out of hiding was, after all these years, was going to cause such an uproar that it would serve as a sufficient distraction. Without that alter ego being real, then it wouldn't serve nearly as well as a distraction, be more of a curiosity than anything. So, and I don't know, maybe that's the way it was, after all, because it didn't attract that terrible large of a crowd, but I don't know, and you could argue it's possible maybe this is all just a fantasy that she played out in her head, one that was so real to her at some point that she began to think it was actually real, like this is a childhood fantasy she had that she actually lived out in her mind. And, that actually makes sense to a certain point as well, because she clearly took after her mom with her guitar skills, and, maybe she'd always dreamed about making Pear Butter proud of her with her guitar playing and performing for everyone. But if she believes so strongly that all of this actually happened, then, again, why the nervous eye darting and whatever at the end of all that? So, and of course, I'm probably just way overthinking this here, and it's just, trolling from the writers and animators and everything. But, I guess where I'm going, where I landed with this in terms of headcanon is, I think it's more just the fact that Applejack never really intended to ever reveal this to anyone, and now she just kind of blurted it out without thinking. And then when it was acknowledged by somebody else, he's like, oh, like, did I really just say all of that? I didn't mean to, so that would explain the nervousness, her being self-conscious about it, whatever. So, don't know, doesn't really matter. Time to move on. Back to the main story. So clearly the main subject here was sibling relationship dynamics. Interesting topic for sure. Of course, you've got the long-standing sibling rivalry between Twilight and Shining Armor. Then there's Spike, who wanted to be treated as an equal sibling. And, of course, you got the sisterly relationship issues that Celestia and Luna are still working through. Add to that a little bit of Zephyr Breeze, for reasons. And you get one crazy episode with some twists and turns. I really am happy that we got to see a little bit more of Twilight's family, especially, in the flashback scenes. Especially since we've hardly ever really gotten to see their parents in the show much. There's only been a couple appearances here and there, the most notable one being Once Upon a Zeppelin, of course. But it's always fun to see more. And I always just have to ask, like, where are they all the time with, their daughter's a princess and their son's, captain of the Royal Guard. Like, where's the parents celebrating all of this? But I digress. And it was fun to see Twilight and Shining Armor really have an actual sibling competition as well. These days, with their respective duties and responsibilities, they rarely seem to see each other outside of, some kind of evil that's threatening the safety of Equestria or the Crystal Empire or whatever. So it's nice to see them having a little fun during the downtime. And this scenario also did quite well to highlight the differences between the two of them. Twilight is obviously better at things like, scholastic achievements, things like that. Shining Armor is a bit more of the, street smarts kind of person, and obviously he's doing a lot better than Twilight in the area of military strategizing. If those two would just work together on this stuff, they'd be a force to be reckoned with for sure. And then there's Spike, who, is like a little brother to them in their younger years. And yes, I am aware that we actually just had an episode not too long ago at the end of Season 8, Father Knows Beast, where we looked at how Twilight was kind of like a mother figure to Spike, more so than a sister. But that said, I think both scenarios could actually be true. It's obvious that ponies have a shorter lifespan than dragons, and as such they grow up faster. Spike is still considered a baby dragon by most people. At least I'm pretty sure he still is. Even if him getting his wigs allowed him to kind of graduate from that status, that wasn't very long ago. So he's still basically just a kid. Twilight, on the other hand, is a full-grown adult now. So it stands to reason that at one point she was like an older sister to Spike, but as she grew up and continued caring for him, it grew into more of a mother role. It's not honestly all that much different of a scenario than, Applejack being a mother to Applebloom in the absence of their parents, even though she's technically an older sister. And even though Twilight is now more like a mother in a lot of ways to Spike, there's still an element of the relationship that I think is, more on the little brother, older sister type level. And of course, it's been made clear throughout the run of the show that Spike has always cared an awful lot about Twilight. He's refused to leave her side, worried about leaving her, like how she'll, fare without him, things like that. He cares a lot for her. It's also been made clear that he hasn't really gotten a lot of the respect or admiration that he deserves in return for everything he's done for her over the years. Now it was revealed that even all those years ago, while he felt like a part of the family, he never really got to be involved in their sibling rivalry, and thus he felt kind of left out. And even in this episode, he got blown off by Twilight again when he tried to make her take note of how he's like a little brother. So then when this opportunity arose, it makes sense that he would take advantage of it to finally get a little bit of revenge after all these years. Finally have a chance to win one of these competitions himself, probably the only chance he would ever have, since the game had been all but abandoned for quite some time. What I did not expect is just how devious Spike has become. It stands to reason that all Twilight's planning skills have rubbed off on him, but perhaps the presence of Starlight has had a little bit of an effect as well. Either way, I was just blown away by how well he pulled all this off. And if you think about it, the plan really was quite thorough. First of all, he took notice of the little tiff between Celestia and Luna that was going on there, and essentially got himself a partner in crime, someone on the inside at the highest levels even. Perfect place to be. Then when the main switched gears on him by having Rarity plan out the heist while Twilight basically just sat by and did nothing, Spike had to steer the whole operation back on course to make sure that they would all end up in the throne room at the appropriate time. To that end, Spike had to sabotage the hot air balloon, something I never would have dreamt that he would ever do. Also, there's the fact that Luna personally delivered Zephyr Breeze to that guard post. And at first I thought nothing of it, just kind of dismissed her involvement, but seeing all this play out now, I'm kind of suspicious that the conspiracy goes even deeper here. I'm thinking Spike probably sent a letter to Luna letting her know what all the main six were up to, and asking her to help with some of the sabotage. Since Rarity and Dash were going to attempt to charm their way past the guards, what could possibly serve as a better distraction than putting Zephyr Breeze in front of that entrance to the catacombs, so that they would have to improvise by having Rainbow Dash deal with them, thus causing a delay in their plan that way. And Zephyr even said that nobody really explained to him what being a guard was all about. So it's entirely possible that Luna just hired him on the spot with no warning, no training or anything, solely for the purpose of interfering by having him show off in front of Rainbow Dash. So, did it go that far? I don't know, it seems plausible, but anyway, that aside, Luna also did her part by making sure that Celestia stayed out of the hallways that the main six needed to use once they finally did invade the palace per Twilight's original plan, thus giving them a false sense of security. So, and then of course Luna assisted by teleporting the crown to Spike in the end. And yes, I am aware that technically Spike still did not win, because the goal, as Shining Armor put forth, was to steal the crown and escape from the castle with it, which Spike did not do. But I'd also like to point out that with Luna working as an insider, he didn't even need to do that. She could have just taken the crown herself and nobody ever would have suspected her. That was kind of missing the whole point of it all, which was for Spike to basically come out of nowhere and claim victory over both Twilight and Shining Armor in the last chance he'd ever have to take part in this sibling rivalry competition. Finally proved that he was actually, one of the family, basically. And yeah, that win definitely just came out of nowhere. I mean, he got stunned, jaw-dropping expressions from Twilight, Celestia, Shining Armor, even Pinkie Pie. I mean, Spike basically did the impossible. He, I don't think we've ever seen anyone before be able to stun Pinkie Pie to the point where she was just standing there, jaw dropped, saying nothing. That is a rare feat in and of itself. I applaud that. And it just, in general, it seems like they all really underestimated and they never thought he was capable of anything remotely like this. And I'll just say right now that I am really glad that Spike is one of the good guys because, man, I get the feeling he could make a pretty good villain. You know, just kind of, this just popped into my head now, but thinking of the Kim Possible stuff, when Ron Stoppable actually got infected with, like, the evil ray, he was a pretty legit villain. So those sidekicks, you got to watch out for them. They can be crafty. But anyway, you know, I'm just, as I said, I just love seeing how far Spike has grown on this. I mean, he's grown so far past the little sidekick who lacked any self-confidence and only saw himself as a failure, like the way we saw back when he was humdrum in the Power Ponies. And, you know, I also got to say, I'm surprised that this story was directly relevant to the main story arc of the season. I thought this would be more of a standalone episode that wouldn't really be affected or affect the main be affected by the main story arc or affected in any way, not to a significant degree at least. Of course, it remains to be seen just how relevant it is, but it's at least in theme. You know, but here they are trying to implement some kind of a real security system around Canterlot Castle in order to prepare for another villain attack. The interesting thing is they're doing this without even knowing yet that Grogar is back, or the Tyrek and Cozy Glow escaped from Tartarus, or the Chrysalis' background, or any of this. Now, of course, it makes sense that with Sombra's return, you know, that could have prompted them to finally realize that, hey, got to be more prepared to deal with threats because, you know, old enemies are starting to return again, and you just never know what might happen next. I'm sure Celestia and Luna are probably also thinking about, you know, stepping back and having Twilight take charge. Like, you know, not sure if Twilight's, you know, going to get up to speed right away. We probably need to start implementing some real security around here or something. But it's interesting too that Luna and Spike effectively proved that they need to be just as wary of threats from within as they are from the outside. Now, Shining Armor actually did consider this somewhat, I think, because, you know, he did implement that door lock system that, you know, requires a guard medal in order to access the throne room. So, you know, that is kind of falling in line with, you know, security best practices where you only give, you know, somebody enough permissions or access to do just what they need to do for their job and not anything more. Both so that they can't abuse the system and also there aren't any, like, these oops moments where they get into something they shouldn't be messing with and accidentally break something or whatever. So yeah, this is really kind of a pretty solid penetration testing scenario overall, but they still fail to consider the threat of somebody pulling an inside job. You'd think they kind of would have thought of this, especially given all the times that ponies have been possessed by an evil force or had evil changelings replace ponies, you know, things like that. But I think Shining Armor might have been a little bit too fixated on stopping Twilight specifically, you know, because he knows how she thinks and he's thus targeting that. You know, and honestly, if not for Spike and Luna's meddling in this, I think Rarity's plan might have actually had a pretty good chance of success. Because even if he expected them to not do the things that Twilight normally would have done, I don't think he could have predicted quite everything they were going to do. So I guess we'll never know. But in any case, now they are definitely thinking about the, you know, internal threats. And, you know, I think one way or another, this is probably going to come into play later when Grogar launches whatever his plan is. You know, and honestly, I have a new theory about this. With all the work that they are now doing to try and protect Canterlot Castle, I think there's a pretty good chance that that castle might actually get destroyed before the season is over. You know, remember, it already was destroyed once in the movie, but then got restored with the magic from the Staff of Sakanas. And, you know, since I've theorized that Celestia and Luna are, you know, may be going back to fix up their old castle as a retirement home, and, you know, now they could, you know, stand as guardians of the new Tree of Harmony and stuff too, And I've also said that personally it seems to make more sense to me to have, Twilight and friends rule out of Twilight's castle in Ponyville than to move to Canterlot. Well, with all of that, having Canterlot destroyed would certainly be a convenient way to turn Ponyville into the new capital city of Equestria. And why not? It's been the home of most of the main six for forever, basically. It's nice and centrally located, and it's one of the nicest, most welcoming communities in all of Equestria. So why not have that be the new hub of the magic of friendship, or whatever corny description you want to throw in there. And to me, it really doesn't make sense for Twilight's castle to just sit there empty while they're all working out of Canterlot. And yeah, it is the town library as well, but that it's overkill just for that purpose alone. So we'll just have to see. With all theories, we'll just have to keep watching and see how it turns out. As for an actual moral lesson in all this, wasn't necessarily all that obvious, but I think it was basically just boiling down to a message about how to treat your siblings with respect. Having a friendly sibling rivalry is one thing, and that can be a fun thing, but I think Twilight and Shining Armor may have taken it a little bit too far at times, or at the very least, Spike as the youngest sibling ended up feeling left out of it a lot since they didn't include him in the competition, so it would have been nice if they could have taken notice of that a little bit sooner. And frankly, both Twilight and Shining Armor, I think, have a little bit of an ego issue to varying degrees, so maybe needed a little bit of a wake-up call, and Spike did well in making that happen, finally. And I do very much appreciate the fact that they gifted him the crown at the end. I think it serves well as a symbol of the love that they have for him and have always had for him, but just failed to show him frequently enough. It's just too bad that it took this long and this crazy escapade for it to finally happen. So, in a nutshell, don't dismiss your siblings, regardless of whether they're blood relatives or adopted or older than you or younger than you or whatever. Family is family, and every member of that family needs to feel that they are important and loved. And of course, Celestia and Luna are showing they still have a few things to work on as well as sisters. I think the main issue there, at least in this case, was after ruling alone for 1,000 years, Celestia is having a little difficulty taking input from somebody else and is still kind of fixated on doing things her own way. Luna clearly has some good ideas about things, but she just needs her sister to stop and listen to her a little bit rather than just always turning to Twilight's family for help, which, now that I think about it, is kind of starting to happen with some alarming frequency. But honestly, with all their royal duties that keep them working opposite shifts, it's that they likely just haven't really had all that much time to really reconnect and bond as sisters since Luna's return from the moon, or even just since the events of a royal problem. Like Spike, Luna is the younger sibling who frequently feels left out due to working alone all night and stuff, and she's kind of missing out on some of her sister's love. So it'd be really good for them to get some time to spend together and get more chances to share that love with each other. So all the more reason why their retirement is probably a good idea. And just one last thing briefly, I mentioned in my last commentary about how I think Twilight's going to have to learn to adjust to this new role as a ruler of Equestria, and she's not going to necessarily be the one on the front lines anymore, rather directing from the background, and she's going to have to rely on others to assist her. This episode actually kind of highlighted that a little bit because she was pushed into a situation where she was not in control, just had to sit idly by while her friends executed a plan of their own making. And of course, we again saw her stressing out because without micromanaging everything herself, she didn't really feel like she was in control of the situation. I know she has a lot of faith in her friends, but she's also still a control freak. So, and of course, this wasn't a situation where Equestria is in any danger yet, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I'm just hoping that she will learn something from this from this practice run, and something that will help her to be a more effective leader in this in the future. Something that she just needs to rely on her friends more and chill. Have a little more faith. So that's that. Was this the most epic, crazy episode ever? No. not really, but it was still a really good episode. And especially knowing about just all the love and care that went into this gift for the VAs. It's pretty clear that the entire production staff just put everything that they could into this. So it's a really big deal, really special moment for everyone involved in the show, production crew and fans alike, to reach a milestone like episode 200. And like I said before, I knew it wasn't going to be Slice of Life 2.0, which we honestly already got in the Best Gift Ever anyway. This episode is what I would call pretty good, until we got to the end where Spike and his where Spike revealed his big plan. He and Luna conspiring together just really put this episode over the top. It had an amazing finish on it. And and I'm really glad to see Spike get a little bit of street cred for once. I'd actually theorized before I saw this episode about Spike, potentially becoming a pony through some crazy twist of events, some crazy magic spell gone awry or whatever. I just had been thinking about, if there's, I was trying to think, what would Kathy want Spike to do? And it's like, Spike's grew up around ponies all his life. Yes, now he's embracing his dragon culture, but I can't help but feel like he still has this kind of, latent, mentality where it's like he would always wishes he could have been more like the ponies that he grew up with. Now, clearly that did not happen, but there's a very similar sentiment here where he wanted to be more like his, like equal siblings with Twilight and Shining Armor. So, kind of was along the same lines. So, it's actually pretty cool that played out that way. So, I know not everybody likes Spike, but I personally love to see him get to be the hero once in a while, even if just for a little bit. Just with everything he's put up with from Twilight over the years, I think he deserves it. So, alright, that's all I got on this, everyone. Thanks for watching with me, and hope you all enjoyed it as well as much as me. And, big milestone, but we still got a lot of the season to go, so hopefully more fun to follow soon. Until then, have a good one.